Hello and welcome to one more episode of Passionpreneur Live. And as you guys know, as always, we come up with one amazing influencer, amazing leader and personality to bring their learning, their knowledge, their wisdom and share it with you so that you can also grow in your life. This is Dev Gadhvi, India's first passionpreneur mentor, India's highest paid influencer, best-selling author, TEDx, and Joe Stock speaker. And I'm on a mission to transform 1 billion lives. This initiative is part of this, and I'm sure you're one of those billions of people. So with that, let me just welcome and let me introduce you to today's personality who is really vibrant, really amazing with a lot of wisdom. Her name is Melonie Dodaro, and she has written best-selling books. She is a LinkedIn expert. Her book, LinkedIn Unlock and LinkedIn Code, has been phenomenally successful all around the world. She has been featured in media. She has been a contributor on LinkedIn blogs, and she has won multiple awards. She has been running the social media business for a long, long time, coaching and training people around the globe. She is originally from Canada, but right now she is in Amsterdam. So join me to welcome Melonie. Melonie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
You're looking pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you for making for the show. So as always, the format of the show is simple, Melonie. What we do is we actually get into our guest life because everybody wants to be successful. But a lot of people have the question, hey, how do I start? Where do I start? And often people just get caught up with that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, how did you get started? Where, you're originally from Canada. How was your journey? How did you begin to this journey?
Yeah, great question. So how much time do you have? It's a little bit of a long story, but I'll try to make it short. So I owned a number of different businesses. I used to own franchises and I sold them. And after I sold them, I really kind of started to pay attention to some of the stuff that was happening online by accident. So my family, so I'm originally from Canada. I grew up in Toronto, but I lived on the west coast of Canada in British Columbia, and all my family lived out east. And they were reaching out to me all the time. They're like, Melonie, get on Facebook. I'm like, what is this stupid Facebook? Like, I'm a super private person, didn't want to be on social media, didn't want to be online, didn't even really want anyone to know who I was. So it was this journey of kind of breaking through those barriers. In the beginning, in the early days, I wouldn't let anyone be my friend on Facebook unless they were immediate family or really close friend. And then I started to like pay attention. So I, have an entrepreneur mind. And so I started to pay attention to it from a business perspective. And I thought, hey, this could actually be a really good business marketing tool. I'm going to start to pay attention. And so I looked at that. I looked at Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, basically everything online, really started studying it, became like almost a full-time student for several years, just immersing myself in everything digital. And I started to get really good at it, and people were reaching out to me. So business owners were reaching out to me, professional service providers and various people saying, hey, Melonie, I really like what you're doing. Can you help me? I'm like, of course I can. Sure, no problem. And so I started helping a lot of people, and of course, just doing it for free. And I thought, you know what, I could help a lot more people if I actually created a business around this. And so that's how it started. And in the early days, I did everything in terms of like social media related stuff. I shouldn't say everything, like Instagram didn't exist, Snapchat, none of these things existed. It was like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, blogging, stuff like that, YouTube. So we really, as a company, focused on helping them, manage their social media presence, build it, brand it, create great content for it, grow a community, and so forth. But I quickly realized that, all those tools, as great as they are, and people can certainly generate business from it, they're passive. You're waiting around for people to come to you in hopes that, somebody will reach out. And that's what I liked about LinkedIn, especially for a B2B perspective. So anybody that's selling a service or a product to another business, it was a great fit because you didn't have to sit around and wait for people. You could actually do a direct outreach. And so you could find people, you could connect with them, you could have conversations, and ultimately, which is the goal, is to move those conversations offline. And so I really streamlined what I did to focus solely on the things that I knew produced results, which is social selling, which is LinkedIn lead generation, LinkedIn. I looked at every single tool as what was the goal and objective for it. So for example, back in the day, I spend very little time on Twitter these days, but back then I used to spend time on Twitter because it drove a lot of traffic to my blog. Mm-hmm. And by driving traffic to my blog, it increased my SEO ranking. And by increasing my SEO ranking, it generated more inquiries. So everything I did had a purpose and a goal. And so with LinkedIn, the goal was business generation, lead generation, client acquisition. And it's always been really, really successful at that in helping my clients reach those goals. And so I just laser focused on that. And I think that it served me well. I mean, when I first wrote my first book on LinkedIn, it was in 2014. And that book was 2 years in the making. I started writing it in 2012. And it was actually a social media book. It's going to be about social media in general. And I was like halfway through. This guy who's a professor at a university in the United States. And he said to me, he said, Melanie, let me ask you this. What are you best at? I'm like, well, I'm best at LinkedIn, of course. And he's like, well, why are you writing a book on social media? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Why am I writing a book on social media? Scrap the book, start it over. And within 6 months of the day of making that commitment, my book was published.
Oh, interesting. So that was your first book, LinkedIn Unlocked.
Yeah. So that's one that's, a little bit outdated at this time. I'm actually planning on doing a revamp of that maybe late this year or early next year. But I have a new book called LinkedIn Unlocked, which is totally up to date and relevant because things change. Things change a lot. Yeah. And things have changed significantly in the world of LinkedIn in the last few years. It wasn't always that way. One of the things I liked about LinkedIn is it remained consistent. So I could teach things that didn't change for people. Yeah. But so much has changed that I really had to produce a brand new book on the topic.
That's interesting. Tell us a little bit about your journey where, did you have those days where you're like, man, this is not working out. I want to do this, but how do I make money or how do I grow my business? Did you have those moments or everything was like smooth and everything was, everything started in place?
I still have those days. I'll tell you one of the reasons why I have those days is I actually am not a fan of social media. Mm-hmm. I know. So I've always considered myself the anti-social media girl. I don't like playing on social media. And so that's why I always gravitated to LinkedIn, where so many other people in the social media space, they didn't like LinkedIn and they still don't like LinkedIn because it's boring. Mm-hmm. And for them, they like to play, they like to socialize, and that's just not who I am. I'm not really interested in mindless entertainment on Facebook or memes or what people have had for lunch or any of the mindless stuff that I see. So, a lot of times I actually think, I'm like, what am I doing? But because of the nature of where my focus is, I don't spend a tremendous amount of time playing, if you will, or even online. I certainly do in terms of producing content and doing a variety of different things. But, I'm not glued to my computer. I look at people that attend different events, for example, and they're spending the whole entire event capturing pictures. Even when I teach a workshop or I teach a seminar, I actually don't like people taking pictures and I'm not saying that they can't. They're absolutely welcome to do whatever they want, but I don't like them taking pictures or taking my quotes and tweeting me and tagging me, not because this isn't beneficial to me, because it is beneficial to me if they spread that message, because I know they're not getting everything that they need out of the event. They're not learning, but they're not focusing on what they need to be, really focusing on. So is it beneficial for me for them to do that? Absolutely. Would I prefer them not to? Absolutely, because I want them to get the most out of it. So I think that we're just too focused on so many things social, and that we're becoming antisocial in the as a result.
Interesting. So how do you cope up with those times when you had your down moments? Like people listening to this, they're like, number one, we want to get started, but when they get started, they get stuck there. And like, what? I don't think the entrepreneurship or the business or being an influencer is something that I can do for a long time. So how do you actually get unstuck and unlock yourself?
Yeah, by doing less. I've always said this, less is more. So looking at what are the highest leveraging activities that you can do and should do. And as far as I'm concerned, there's three. One is LinkedIn, hands down, if you're B2B. And if you're doing it properly, not just having a profile on LinkedIn and maybe accepting the odd connection request, having a lead generation system in place where you have a direct outreach to your ideal clients and you're moving those conversations forward to turning them into clients. The second thing is creating content, preferably written content in the form of blogs, because I love SEO. I love the fact that, I get, well, gosh, I'm going to say I probably get about 40,000 views to my blog each month that come from just SEO, organic. And then I get additional ones from other methods. That's a lot of people visiting my content because I've optimized it. Because I've, first of all, created really good content. Secondly, I've optimized it for SEO. And over time, Google has recognized my site as an authority site, meaning it's not brand new. It's been around. It's got a lot of people linking to it, reputable sources, and so forth. So, that's a wonderful way, but it's a long-term strategy. And so you need to start somewhere. So start now. The other is video, and video can be through YouTube as well as native video on LinkedIn, and I suggest both. So those are the three things that if you want to focus on for business building that you should be focusing on. If you enjoy Facebook, and don't get me wrong, I'm not like 100% slamming Facebook. I like Facebook for some things. I like it for family stuff. But because of the size of my network, I see a lot of garbage too that I don't want to see. I also really like Facebook groups. So if you've got I've got an online program, an online training program and coaching program that I teach people everything about LinkedIn content and social selling. And in it, as a support system, I've got a Facebook group. And people find that so ironic. Melonie, you have a course on LinkedIn, but you're providing the group with Facebook. Why is that? And I'm like, because LinkedIn groups suck. And it's really about looking at what is the best tool for whatever it is that you want, right? And so I don't spend endless amounts of time on Facebook, but I do have a group there. I like the notifications that groups give and so forth. So there, you really need to look at what are the tools that are best for you. And I think that the mindset that many people have about LinkedIn is, oh, it's boring, is a terrible mindset to have, because it is generating new business boring? Because if it is, maybe you shouldn't be in business. You know what I mean? Like, it's not boring. It shouldn't be boring because it's part of the thing that you need to do to generate the revenue that you want to, hit the goals that you want to, and help the number of people that you want to help. And so if you find that boring and you're looking at ways that are fun, meaning, playing or commenting on Facebook or Instagram all day, well, don't be surprised when that doesn't turn into revenue.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I remember when I started my journey as a passionpreneur, I was leveraging the number one tool for my business has been LinkedIn till date. All my lead, all my campaign, when I had to, when I started coaching and, passionpreneur journey, have had my program called Quit 9 to 5 and Build Your Business on Passion. All my attendees of my workshops came only from LinkedIn organic reach, no ads whatsoever. And that's how powerful it is. Till date, I focus number one on LinkedIn. And it's also predicted that LinkedIn is going to be a huge platform, which is going to overpower.
It already is. It already is, right? And it is getting momentum. Yeah, it is getting momentum because people are getting very turned off of Facebook. And there's a problem with that as well. LinkedIn's always has had a really great consistent momentum. But right now, the momentum's exceptionally high. And the problem with that is a lot of people are disillusioned with Facebook and they're turning to LinkedIn, hoping that LinkedIn's their solution. But they're treating LinkedIn the way that they treated Facebook, and that's not going to work. Dave, one of the things that, you've heard of the 80-20 rule, right? Where 80% of the market share is dominated by 20% of the businesses, or 80% of the company's revenue is generated by 20% of the customers. The 80-20 rule applies in a lot of different scenarios, but with LinkedIn, it's the 99-1 rule, meaning that 1% of the people on LinkedIn are doing LinkedIn right and are actually generating business from it. 99% aren't getting any revenue, any clients, any leads, or any opportunities from it, or very few, because they're not deploying the right strategy. So this comes down to the 99% of the people that are using LinkedIn. They fall into one of these three categories. The first one is they're the sales pitcher, aka also the spammer, right? You connect with somebody, and we know these people because immediately after connecting, they send us their sales pitch message.
Yeah.
It's the first group. The second group are the people that are the ghosts, right? So you connect with somebody new, and then you never reach out to them again. You never have a conversation with them again. You collect connections.
Yeah.
This group also doesn't get any clients from LinkedIn. And then the third group is the social butterfly. Now, these are the people who really love social media, and they really like people, and they're good people. But they like to, engage, and they engage online, and they never move the relationship forward. They never move those conversations offline. So they're just too social. So pretty much almost everybody is going to fall into one of those three categories. Have you sent something that seems a little bit like a sales pitch after a connection? Category 1. Have you just never followed up with people after connecting? Category 2. Do you just engage and never move, book conversations offline to actually get to know somebody, find out their issues and their problems? Because no selling should happen on LinkedIn. No selling should happen on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a tool. It's a tool for you to find, connect, and start to build a bit of a relationship with somebody so that you've earned enough trust that they're willing to move to an offline conversation. And it's offline, if you're a B2B business, that you convert a prospect to a client, not online.
That's very interesting. So what are the top 2 or 3 strategies that people should focus when it comes to optimizing their business through LinkedIn? Like, generating more leads, connecting with people. So I'm sure, you've been teaching this to your mentee, and people can definitely go and read the book more in detail. But if you have to share like 2 or 3 key elements that people should focus on when they're generating leads from LinkedIn, what would that be?
Yeah, so the number one strategy is to not be the ghost and not be the sales pitcher, right? It's have a message that you send after connecting with somebody, thanking them for connecting with them, starting to establish some rapport, making mention of something in their profile or something that they've shared and showing some interest in them. And then continuing to, have a couple more messages over time, not too frequently, like not the next day, or usually like a week apart, and continue those conversations to generate enough rapport and trust that they're willing to move to that next step. So I have an entire message kind of sequence that works, and how to structure those messages. So that's the first thing. But before you even do that, you need to make sure, if you're going to use LinkedIn as a tool for lead generation, and you're going to start sending these messages to people, you're going to start off with a connection request. That's the first step. If you send a connection request to people, a lot of times, most times, they're going to look at your profile to see who you are. If your profile sucks, if it doesn't represent you professionally, if it's sparse, if it's, looks like it could be a fake account, they're not going to accept. So your lead generation is stopped right in its tracks, right there. The third thing is, as you start to grow a network of, really targeted prospects, other people within your industry that you might want to be connecting with, as you're growing a network with people who could generate business for you, whether it's a strategic partner or it's a potential prospect, you want to stay top of mind with them. So sharing content is important so that you stay top of mind, because a lot of times you'll be reaching out to somebody and what you offer isn't what they need right now, for a number of different reasons. They might be going through a divorce. They might be having financial problems. They might be on vacation, on an extended vacation. They might have an illness right now. You never know what's going on with somebody at that moment. That doesn't mean that they won't be ready for what you have in 3 or 6 months from now. So staying top of mind is important. Now, I do want to caution you again with the content stuff, that the content is important for establishing credibility, establishing authority on your topic, but it's what people rely on too heavily. Most of the people out there that teach social selling, which is essentially what I'm talking about, will say that the secret to social selling is sharing content. And I completely disagree, because it's passive. You're waiting around now for people to find your content. You're waiting around for many things. You're waiting around for LinkedIn's algorithm to show your content. Then you're waiting for people to actually see it and engage with it and respond to it. These are all passive things that if you sit around and waiting for it, you will never, ever have a business that hits the goals that you want it to hit. But it is one of the strategies that are important. It's a supplementary thing. The designing your profile and the sharing content, they're essential, but only the one in the middle is going to produce consistent and predictable clients, which is the having this message sequence that's going to resonate and speak to your ideal clients. And to do that, you need to not look at shortcuts. I posted today on LinkedIn. I get messages every day from people saying, I have 8,000 people that I'm connected to. How do I mass message them all at once? I'm like, you don't. I'm like, first of all, LinkedIn, you can't do that on LinkedIn. But even if you could, it wouldn't work. What that's called is spam. Mm-hmm. And if spammers were successful at spamming, they'd all be billionaires. Right? Because, the amount of spam we get, if spam worked, they'd all be rich.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I remember I tried spamming a little bit. I said, this does not work. I have a workshop coming up, and there was some tool which LinkedIn provides, right? So you can send the mass messages to a lot of people. And I realized now that's not a really good strategy. So all my content has to be more organic and engagement and all. So that totally makes sense. Now, one of the top concerns that people have, like if they are on LinkedIn, they want to utilize the social media. They want to use the LinkedIn to their best abilities. But one of the problems that they face is the message, the content. How do we generate the content? What are the basics of creating the content? How do I get through to that?
Are you saying that when you say content, you're talking about the content of the message that they would send to an individual, right?
Yeah, both. Like, the organic within the page or LinkedIn, and maybe, sending it individually as well. So how do I think primarily to get the engagement on the posts that I'm making, like videos and text and photos and all, how do I generate those, content? That's one of the most asked questions that I get.
Okay, so now we're talking about the content, so articles, videos, and stuff like that. Got it. That's really actually very easy. What are the most frequently asked questions that you get? Write them down. What are the specific problems that people ask you about that are prospects or clients? What are the specific problems that you're helping your clients solve? Each one of these is a piece of content. So let me use a LinkedIn profile as an example. So I've written tons of articles, infographics, videos about how to create a great LinkedIn profile. But in that, there's so many different sections within a profile. I can create a piece of content on each section of the profile. Here's how to create a client-focused and click-worthy headline. These 3 steps, or these 5 steps, or these are the things you need to think about. So you could come up with your big topics and then look at those big topics and what are the micro topics within that. If you do that alone, there's 52 pieces of content for you, guaranteed, 1 a week, no problem. Now, here's where I am at with my content. I've created so much content over the last 9 years. And it's not that I have run out of ideas, but you certainly do start to run out of ideas after a while, especially if you're talking about the same types of things. I'm not producing new content anymore. I'm going back and updating my old content. Google loves that.
Interesting.
So content that, and it is actually interesting because I go back and look at an article that I wrote in, 2012, and I'm like, holy shit, that was really bad. But it's bad by today's standards now. I've written several books and I've produced massive amounts of content. So of course my writing is much better at this stage of the game, but it was great content back then. And I look at it and I've got 11,000 shares on it. That means people really liked it. It was good. I'm now looking at it through a different lens and I'm like, oh, that wasn't really that good. here's the other thing too, is now that content that's got 11,000 shares is now new content. And that's a level of social proof. Instead of going and writing a new article on the same topic, but, making it better, just go update the old one. So I look at a lot of people, as I'm working with my clients, I'll go through their blog posts and look at their content. And I'm like, you've got no SEO optimization here. The article's too short. There's no real substance to it. Let's revamp this, revamp it, change the title. The title's not, attention grabbing. It's not click worthy, if you will. So, look at going back and improving the things that you've done in the past versus starting from scratch. That's going to save you a lot of time too.
That's very interesting perspective. I never looked at blogs and articles so seriously, but now I need to get into this myself.
Oh yeah, you're like, Melonie, you're getting 40,000 visitors to your blog just organically a month? I'm going to start doing that. Yeah.
Now, what are the things that people should not do on social media or specifically?
Oh my gosh, the list of not to do is longer than the list of to do. We are in an age right now of personalization. And when I say an age of personalization, let me rephrase that. Where personalization is absolutely necessary to succeed. The days of templates and copy and paste and not paying attention are long gone. Example, somebody sent me a message last week. I can't even remember. Oh, it was a survey they wanted me to fill out. First of all, why would you send me like you don't even know who I am, and now you're asking me to do something for you. The ask is too big. Any ask is too big of somebody who doesn't know you.
Interesting.
Then they send me a message, and it's a guy who works for a sales guru in California. And I said, do you send me a questionnaire? And I know of the sales guru that he works for, but I don't know this guy. And I said, do you know that I'm not in real estate? He said, yeah, but whatever. He sent me a questionnaire for real estate people. I'm like, what part of this, is this guy not getting? He hasn't taken the time to look at my profile, or people who will look at your profile and say, so where are you from? Well, you know what? Just click. It says I live in Amsterdam. Not where are you from, where do you live, or whatever, so people are just lazy. And I think that laziness is going to be what destroys so many businesses going forward. You cannot be lazy anymore. There might have been a time where you could get away with doing some things that were, lazy tactics, but that time is gone. Personalization is key. It's doing a little bit of homework. A lot of times people will think, oh, I actually had this disagreement with somebody once. I posted something about, the need for personalization and connection requests. And right now I've got 2,400 connection requests sitting in my inbox, all of which I'm going to not accept, except for the ones that have sent me a personalized message, if I like their personalized message. Sometimes people send personalized messages that are very self-serving and very salesy. Hey, I thought, you might be a great client for my product. Well, guess what? I'm not accepting that connection request. Or, they always make it about them. Yeah. And so some smart people will make it about you, and they'll say, hey, I'm reading your book and I love your content, and I just really love to continue to learn from you. Okay, I'll accept that. So it's really about understanding. And even though it's about them, but they made it about me too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So anyways, I was saying that in this post that I had, at that point in time, I think I had 1,600 connection requests that had come in a day. And I'm like, I accepted 7. And this guy says to me in a comment, he's like, I totally disagree with you, Melonie. Sending personalized invites is a waste of time. 30% of the people that I send invites to accept. Why would I bother, personalizing them? Well, first of all, that may be true that 30% accepts, but that number is going to continue to go down if it is true. Secondly, 100% of the people I send a connection to accept. So who exactly is wasting time?
Yeah.
Is he wasting time by not sending the invite, or am I, you know what I mean? Or like 100% of I'm getting a 100% acceptance rate. Now, in addition to that, by not sending them, all you need is 5 people that click, I don't know, and your account's restricted.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
Restricted, meaning you can no longer use LinkedIn for lead generation because you can no longer send connection requests to prospects unless you know their email address. Guess how well that's going to go?
That's going to be painful.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, that's really good insight. Anything else that comes to your mind? Last tip, which people should not do.
Yeah, there's so many. You know, not taking the time to really, you know, make sure that you have a great personal brand, that your profile looks great, that you're taking advantage of all those opportunities. Continue to learn from, you know, what's working and what's not. You know, I see these people do the same thing over and over again. They post the same type of posts. So it's a status update. And day after day after day after day, they do the same thing. They don't get any engagement on it. And they just keep doing it. And they're like, I post every day. Yes, but have you looked at it? Have you noticed that nobody engages with your posts? Do you think, like, the thing is to learn, is to constantly learn. And, you know, with marketing, it's always testing. So, you know, that would be something that's really important to do. What's working? If you're sending a message to people and you're not getting a response, what's wrong with the message? Guarantee the problem is in the message. Anybody that says LinkedIn doesn't work just means it doesn't work for them because they're not doing it properly.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't work when the user doesn't know how to work it, right? I'm actually not at all a technology person. You should see me with, you know, some things. I was up with my IT guy the other day. I was having some problems on my computer and I'm like, I don't know how to do this and this and this and this. And he's like 2 seconds. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, that's all it was. Yeah, user error. And trust me, I make my fair share of user errors too. We all do, whatever our area of weakness is. Mine is, you know, learning anything that's too techy. And LinkedIn really isn't too techy. It's, you know, you have to understand how to do certain things, but once you do them, there's no tech involved anymore. So, you know, continue. I think that the number one most important thing that people need to do is you are responsible for your education. You are responsible, if you want to use these tools, to educate yourself, to use them to the most, you know, effective a way that they can be used. And if you don't, you'd risk damaging your credibility, your reputation, and wasting a whole bunch of time.
Yeah. Interesting.
So whatever that is that you want to learn, whether it's, you know, how to write great blog posts so that you're showing up in Google search, or how to use LinkedIn to generate new leads, or, you know, what is the best tactics for creating a video, or whatever it is, you have to take the time to learn. And, you know, if I could go back in time to my early days, my education, let me tell you, first of all, I invest heavily in education, but my education's been painful. Because I learned a little bit here, and I learned a little bit here, and I learned a little bit here, and on this topic, and tried to piece it all together. And gosh, my education's come at a very high price in terms of time, pain, resources, money, all that kind of stuff. You know, look at, you know, one topic that's going to be best for you and your business that you need to focus on right now, and invest in something that's going to help you solve that. You know, where you don't have to go to 5 different areas to find the information, that you can get it all in one place. The other thing too is, you know, a lot of times people will be going through my course or going through my book, or, you know, one of my clients, and they'll say, oh, Melanie, I saw this video, or I saw this article about somebody else wrote. I'm like, okay, here's the deal. Please don't read or listen to what anybody else tells you about the topics that I'm teaching you about. You can listen to what people say to you about anything other than what I teach you about, because I only teach that which I know so well. Like if somebody asks me a question on something that isn't my area of expertise, and I know it well enough to maybe answer the question, I'll answer the question certainly, but I won't give them advice. Because I always say, if there's someone out there that's better than me on a topic, then you should go see them, not me. Because like I could accidentally give you one little piece that would misdirect you and prevent you from actually achieving the goals that you're looking at. So I only give advice on that which I know that I'm masterful at. And because of that, I don't want people to get screwed up by listening to a little bit of this and a little bit of that, because there's also people out there that have contradictory information. For example, there's some LinkedIn experts, I use that term loosely, that will say you should write your profile in third person. Well, I've always been an advocate from the very beginning that you should write your profile in first person. Why is that? Well, first of all, LinkedIn is a social network, and you should be social. And at the end of the day, it's a single individual that's going to be reading your profile, so you need to speak to that one person, one person at a time. And if you want your marketing message to work, you need to speak to that one person. And if all you're doing is talking about yourself, guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Have you heard the acronym WIIFM?
No.
It's what's in it for me.
Oh.
So every single person that's reading your profile, your messages, your content, anything about you, your offerings, all they're thinking about is what's in it for me. If you're not answering the what's in it for me question for them, you're lost. Like they're not going to pay attention. So this one particular individual that was teaching this, I don't know if this person still teaches this to this day, but they were saying you need to SEO optimize your name. It's like, what? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You do not need to SEO optimize your name. Your name's going to show up automatically. You need to optimize for the keywords that people are looking for, not for your name. So anyways, that's just a very basic but random example. So, if all of a sudden someone's like, oh, Melonie, but this person said I should write in third person. And, it's really important to you not get your information from too many different sources. Follow the people that have been really, really successful at doing what it is that you want to do, and just follow them. Or just, invest in their books or their programs or their services or whatever, and don't try to get the information from 5 different places, because you're going to be so confused, because everybody's going to have a different perspective, and you're not going to know whether you're coming or going, and you're going to make bad decisions.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. And I myself personally had an aha moment when you said that don't write your profile as a third person. I'm thinking, what is on my profile now? I need to go back and look at it. So for people wondering what is third person, so when you see the summary or description that, Dev Gadhvi has been this, they've achieved this, that's all crap. You should not do that. What you should do is, hey, I am so-and-so, and what can I do for you, or something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So instead of it saying, Melonie Dodaro is an author, speaker, trainer, coach, consultant, whatever, I'm saying, hey, you know what? I work with companies that are X, Y, and Z, or, in the beginning of my summary section, for example, I list out all my accomplishments, because I kind of like have a model that I talk about in my book and my programs about how to really write an effective summary section. The first thing is you do need to write a little bit about yourself so that you gain some authority and credibility, right? So you're telling them a little bit about you. Then you're moving it into talking all about them. So then you really need to know who they are and speak, what's important to them. And then you have kind of a call to action at the end, telling them what to do next. So for example, I talk about all the different things. Hey, I'm like top 100 digital marketers, top 50 sales influencers, top, 50 this and whatever. and then I say, but the only can't remember the word I say, but the only thing that really matters to me is the results that I get for my clients. So I'm like, these are all great accolades and whatnot, but at the end of the day, all I really care about is the results that I get for my clients. And here's who I work with, and here's how I help them, and here's the problems that they have, and so forth. So
interesting. No, this is some amazing tips. I'm just going to go ahead and implement that right away. And for people who are watching this, you guys have to go ahead and implement this as well. Now, before I move to the last question, because I know we are right on the mark, before I ask the last question, if somebody wants to continue to learn from you, what is the best way to get started, right? Where can they find information? Where can they, LinkedIn, definitely people, everybody follow Melonie on LinkedIn. I'll share the links as well. But what do you suggest if somebody wants to start learning from you?
Yeah, great question. I would say that the best place to get started right now for the smallest investment is my book. My book is absolutely phenomenal. It's a roadmap to creating a great personal brand, to creating a lead generation system, and really building your authority through content. You can get it through Amazon in print or the digital version, but I also have a special URL that I can give you where you can save 40% off the price of Amazon. So that URL is linkedinunlockedbook.com. And you can get the digital version there. So instead of, I think, $9.95 on Amazon, it's $5.90. So the book is phenomenal. It's helped thousands and thousands of people around the world. It's a fantastic first place to start. If you're interested in more, and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, Melonie, I don't want to learn this stuff. Can you just set it all up for me? And of course that exists. Take a look at my website, topdogsocialmedia.com. There's a variety of different services that I offer. From profile development services to what I call my LinkedIn domination program, where I create, the whole lead generation sequence for them. So there's a number of different things, and of course there's my blog on that website. I post really, really high quality content once a week. And if you want to join my email list as a subscriber to the blog, I send out one email a week with a notification of the newest featured blog for the week.
It's fantastic. Go guys and go and grab the copy. I will put the link of the book in the description below and the website link as well. So you should go ahead and check it out. So now this is the last question. So Melonie, what is the one thing that you want to leave for the world when you depart for heaven?
Oh, that's not what I was expecting. I thought the final word that you want me to leave the group. And the one I was going to say is one of the things I talk about is stop collecting connections, start building relationships. Mm-hmm. So really, at the end of the day, and if you read my book, I share a real personal story in the introduction about how I used to be a connection collector. And I wasn't referring to that on LinkedIn because this is way back before LinkedIn existed. And so, you'll get a little bit of my personal story and kind of the dysfunctional childhood I had. I never knew my father until a few years ago, and, different things. It's actually one of the reasons why I live in Amsterdam. I have family here, and it's great for me to get to know. I have a brother and a sister here, and little nieces and nephews, and aunts and cousins, and it's just a wonderful experience getting to know them. But I was, I always had this guard because I was always afraid that, if I ever got too close to people that, I'd get hurt. And so I really kind of put up this wall with relationships. And that really all changed for me in 2015, especially where it really just kind of drilled home. It changed years before that. I had other circumstances, but that was like the final one where I was like, wow, when I really let people know who I am, the world wants to help me. So how this happened is I shared a video on Facebook that went viral around the world. And I told everybody a story that many of the people that never knew me my whole life, not my whole life, but since I was young, like friends, I didn't know. And that was that I had never met my father. And they didn't even know that. Like, they had no clue because I was so private. I'd never tell anybody that. That's why I didn't want to be on social media. I didn't want anyone to know anything about my life because I was kind of embarrassed of these different things. I had a teenage mom, I had no father, blah, 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 I was raised by my grandmother. So I think that, the thing is really kind of opening up and letting people in and doing that. When you do that online, those online relationships turn into offline relationships, and they turn into business, or they turn into friendships, or they turn into all kinds of different things. And for me, I had so much appreciation for the network that I've been able to build over the years. I'm grateful for, how it translates to business in my life, but more than anything in the world, I'm grateful for how it translated into my life personally, and how this amazing community of people that I've been able to reach and touch, and they've been able to touch me, wanted to help me in that one particular time when I asked for help. Hey guys, will you share this video? Will you share this video? And it went viral around the world.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
This is really...
That was heavy stuff. I wasn't expecting to end on such a heavy note. Sorry about that.
No, this is real you, and this is really, you know, authentic you. And I really, really appreciate for people being so open and authentic and sharing their own life story. It takes a lot, especially when you have the tough childhood and all. Uh, you've come a long way. I have a lot of respect for you. Thank you so much for coming here on the show and giving your precious time, and most importantly, sharing your precious wisdom that you acquired in the last so many years. So Melanie, with that, thank you so much for coming to the show. And I wish you really, really all the love, all the success, and all the blessings that you can ever imagine.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much. So guys, thank you so much for this is all from today's show. And as promised, we will continue to come with these kind of exceptional leaders. What an amazing personality, right? So go ahead and check the link out, check the book out, go ahead and grab one. I'm going to grab one myself personally, and go and check out our blog as well. Thank you so much. And I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.